good day to be covering the football team. Just speaking for myself here. Morning began with the news of Mason Rudolph signing. That, to me, adds some intrigue, some color to the coming season, not to mention the familiarity. And then after that, I went over to the South Side, where the team was rolling out 5 different free agents that they'd signed for interview sessions. Uplifting, all of it. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The star of this particular session was easily going to be DK Metcalf. This is a little of what he had to say about his arrival to Pittsburgh.
Like I said, man, these guys showing interest. Coach Tomlin, Mr. Omar, and Mr. Rooney all hopped on the phone with me Sunday, and it just felt homey, felt welcoming. That they wanted to bring me to this historic organization, and everything was just snowball from there, and brought me here in front of you today.
You can say it's just first impressions, but first impressions do count in life and in football, and all 5 of these individuals struck me as just being terrific additions in that regard. Various reasons, different. We have lots of time this summer. We can get into them individually as we go. Now, Rudolph wasn't there yet. It's kind of impossible logistically to pull that off when the agreement, the 2-year, $8 million deal, had been struck just a little bit before lunchtime. But I'm going to tell you one of the thoughts that I had over there, particularly in between the interviews as the players were coming in one at a time to a podium, and you have a chance to really consider what their roles might be, and some of them have dual roles, some of them also serve on special teams. What'll be the impact on players who were already here? Will they or will they not be better than the players they're replacing? Again, another episode title for another episode day. But one thought gathered for me in that sense, and it was that they need more. They need more good players. They need more potential replacement players at certain positions. And if you've been listening to the show this week, you'll know where I'm about to go here, because I'm just going to do it again. You can either take all or almost all of your remaining money and lay it at the bare feet of Aaron Rodgers on that Malibu beach and beg him to come and play another year that won't mean anything to his career, that won't further who he is or what he's achieved or whether or not he's getting in the Hall of Fame, 4-time MVP, whether or not he's going to win a Super Bowl. He already won one of those at the expense of the Steelers, no less. But hey, please take all of our remaining cap money. Please do that. Please take $30 million, whatever it is, and ensure that we can't get any other players. And even if you're not a believer in the 2025 season, and I would imagine the Steelers have quite the ways to go in convincing the general public of that, then you're also handcuffing, in some ways, Omar Khan and management from building up the quarterback room properly, meaning not by adding a 42-year-old who isn't even sure apparently that he wants to continue, but by getting aggressive through any means possible in securing a project or two from somewhere else in the league. Finding a young guy. Everybody's mentioning a lot of the same names. One of them that comes up and has come up, some shoot it down real quick, some don't, is Hendon Hooker in Detroit. Well, very late last night, the Lions signed Kyle Allen, who had, of course, been the Steelers' number 3 quarterback, which would appear to put Hooker's future there, already behind Jared Goff, into significant doubt. Is he the guy? I don't know. But does he kind of fit the mold to some extent? Maybe. That's the kind of digging. That's the kind of studying, poking around, asking questions that you should be doing now if you're the Steelers. Every quarterback who might be blocked somewhere, go at them. It's not about waiting for the draft. It's not about waiting to see if you can take a couple of them in the draft and fill your room up. That's not practical. That's not reasonable. And you also don't want to enter a season where you'd have two kids, both of whom are projects. One of them has to have had some NFL playing experience, kind of a tweener, if you will. But beyond that, beyond quarterbacks, go get some players. Get some more players. You cannot, with a straight face, suggest to anybody, if you're the Steelers, that on the offensive side, on the defensive side, on special teams, you've got all the best people or all the right kind of depth even. Want to know what I would do with some of Aaron Rodgers' money? I'd go and find me an offensive tackle. Now, I wouldn't go paying anybody Dan more money over it, but I'd find someone who, ideally, this is hypothetical, I don't have an actual player in mind, get a swing tackle, a legit swing tackle, but someone who's good enough and who has a strong enough personality that he'd be able to outperform and want to outperform Broderick Jones and chase him off the field on merit. Do you want Jones to succeed? Of course you do. Of course you do. But is there a better chance that he'll succeed if he feels pushed? Possibly. Remember, we only got to see half a game of that last season. That being the first half in Denver where Troy Fautanu goes out there. He was ready to take Brod's job, and he was going to keep it. He was going to keep it. You were going to see Troy on the right side and Moore on the left side, and you were going to see that for the remainder of the schedule. I don't have any doubts about that. We never got to watch that play out because Troy got hurt in that half and Brod was right back out there. You know what the Steelers' options are for adding someone like that? If they just pay out of some groveling fealty all of this money to Rodgers for no reason, to get someone like that, they won't. They won't. They'll have Spencer Anderson do it. They'll say, oh, Spence can play all the positions. We'll just have him be the swing tackle. Spence is no threat to Brod. And I'm not picking on him. It's just, it's an easy example. There are more, several more, and they would cost money. Cooper Kupp wouldn't cost as much as he would have if he were still playing for the Rams, but he'll cost. He's on the open market. Put him onto a wide receiving core that already has DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Calvin Austin, and if they can ever find Roman Wilson. And then watch how that helps to balance out whatever might be the perceived differences between Mason and a 42-year-old Rodgers. I liked these guys yesterday. I'm going to say it again. I liked the feel of that group. I like bringing in a couple of those cases, verified winners. Kenny Gainwell just won it all in Philadelphia. He described that to us in that room as feeling like it was just a week ago. That's cool. That comes with value. There's still going to be another running back added to that room. Maybe that comes in the draft. Maybe you go out and get it. There has to be a defensive lineman. Maybe that comes in a defensive line-rich draft. Maybe you go out and get like a Calais Campbell or someone like that. All of it, to me, sounds better than giving it to Rodgers. When we come back, J1Q. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxenberg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Chris, who says, DK, this quarterback situation and then the wide receiver situation last year would be laughable if either of those happened to another AFC North team on, say, the shores of Lake Erie. What has happened to our beloved Steelers? I have a hard time lumping them together, Chris, because the situations, meaning between the current quarterback thing and then what happened at wide receiver, I have a hard time just saying, hey, it's all the same thing or it's all the same pattern. But if I'm looking for a commonality, and that's what you seem to be challenging me to do here, and I look at what happened, but then also hear what I hear from the inside, the one thing that pops to mind, and powerfully so, is that not everybody's on the same page. I have heard way too much over the past 18 months to believe otherwise. Now, that doesn't mean they don't agree on anything, or it doesn't mean that there are personality differences, and it doesn't even mean that it's a non-functioning or dysfunctional would be a more appropriate term, management team or anything dramatic like that. I'm not taking this over the top, but I do think that in these situations, the ones that you're bringing up here, there have been differences between the people who are in charge of personnel and the Lone Ranger. And you can look at some of these pursuits, like if you go to the early wide receiver pursuits in 2024, Brandon Ayuk, Steelers appear to be totally all the way in, and Ayuk just ends up using them for leverage. That's not, Omar Khan and Andy Weidel on one side of the fence and Mike Tomlin on the other. That's just they got used. But later on, when Omar does finally get around to getting that wide receiver and it's Mike Williams, and Mike Williams comes in and wins the game in Landover with an over-the-shoulder beauty of a catch and, of course, an equally great throw from Russell Wilson. It looks like there might be something there, and then the coach just buries him. What else are you supposed to think about that? Other than the GM and the assistant GM saw one thing, and the head coach saw something else. This kept happening, too. Williams would keep making these really nice plays and then just vanish. And with quarterback, I don't know, man. See, I can completely envision that Tomlin would be smitten by Rodgers. Tomlin has, and he's talked about this openly. I'm not accusing him of anything here. He has almost this fan-like approach to the bigger names in the game. He is a fan of football. I've no doubt that he was all fanish when he got to shake the hands of DK Metcalf and Darius Slay, accomplished players in this sport, star players in this sport. And I don't want to make that out to be a weakness. I actually think that's kind of cool. I think that's part of what makes Tomlin an effective coach, is that he feels like he's right there at that level with those guys. He loves it. He does. But that's also the kind of thing that can take you away from making decisions that are a little bit, more based in logic or data, advanced analytics. Whereas, and again, I'm going to remind you with this last part here, I'm trying to get into people's brains here. I obviously haven't been there for real. I have a hard time picturing Omar saying to himself, man, we've just got to get that 42-year-old quarterback. That's the thing we need. And me, Omar, I need to commit $30 million or more of my cap space after spending the better part of my life chipping away at every nickel and dime and restructuring pretty much every deal that I'd already worked like crazy to get set once in trying to dig up more. But yeah, I'm just going to take all of this and just throw it away on the 42-year-old. It doesn't add up, does it? Doesn't add up. Guys, it's been crazy, crazy week. For all I know, it might be a crazy, crazy weekend as well. But one way or another, this program will be back on Monday morning. And don't forget to check out the Double Shot Show, the video show that we do live at 4 p.m. Eastern later today. Thank you so much for being with me.